Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
Good morning, traders. Welcome to the opening swing for April 22nd, 2024. It's Monday. My name is John Pieranunzi. The opening swing is a brief look at the trading day for active traders of the S&P 500 and other futures. Right now we focus on game planning for the S&Ps, but there's plans to move on from that, or not move on, but to add to that. But anyway, let's begin today like we do each day and look at the news that is in front of us and what has happened. Overnight coming out of Europe, not really that much at all. It's a quiet news day. But out of Europe, nothing major came out, and the only thing left out of Europe at 11:30 Eastern, we have Lagarde speaking in their consumer confidence flash. Nothing major unless Lagarde says something crazy. I'm not sure about this speech, if the text will be released or what. Convergent members, I'm sure we'll hear about that from Balance Trader. Out of the US, really nothing major today. As we go on, the data gets a little bit more interesting as the week sort of progresses, with probably our biggest numbers are on Friday, the personal income and outlays. Key message though, not a ton of news today, not a ton of scheduled news. Moving on, let's look, excuse me, let's look at our daily chart. S&P 500 futures, full session candles. The main theme we've been discussing here, bull market, price discovery higher, to balance, rounded top. Right here, tries to hold balance and then shifts to price discovery lower. The key area where the sellers took control for me is right around this 51.26 prior month's low, where this band is. This is where the sellers kind of showed that they really are the stronger force here. And we've been one time framing lower, which means lower highs than the prior day. It's been going on for something like 6 or 7 days now on the full session, and a few less on the RTH. But so that is happening. Now, we put this low in on the news. This is a news low. We put it in, we could not retest it during the RTH session. We're completely inside of this candle as of now, and we are also, we'll talk about this on the 8 box. Our settlement, our prior week settle, 5,003 3/4 right here. Our current overnight low, 5,009 1/4. So there's a gap to settle. That's something to be aware of today. But really, looking at this chart right now, the most important thing that I'm gleaning from this chart is I'm seeing this low, the Friday full session low. It's looking like we may have found buyers, at least temporarily. So, this is a potential, like I'm looking at this as a little bit stronger of a low than what we've been getting lately. But still, to me, the big deal, the big resistance is coming in up here at 51.26. That being said, the high and low of Friday's full session, very important to me today. They're important to me. We'll go on to the TPO chart. Really, the key thing that we've been talking about on this chart that we've been emphasizing is, of course, first, the unauctioned areas above, which is kind of like the LIS for the sellers. These are single prints up here. So this is kind of, as I said, this is where the sellers really showed that they were in charge. And then what we see here, we see the impulse, balance, 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 balance. And what this is basically showing us, demonstrating to us, is just that the sellers have to continually push prices lower to get their orders filled. That's what's been happening, except we were unable to retest this low on Friday. So that's significant to us. We also have these single prints here, 5101 half to 5106 half area. These are single prints right there, just to be aware of. Let's look at our 8 box and talk about what overnight structure we have to take into account today. Okay, this is a 12 box PNF. And let's just briefly discuss what we saw on Friday. This is the news event. It came out about 9:04 Eastern time. The market sold off, got to 5,000, which was a very important level, and broke through. Sort of, this is the path that we expected price to take, which we went over this. We talked about how we could see sort of a rounded bottom ahead of the millennium, or instead we could see this, which is sort of a drop below, something of a stop run below millennium, in my opinion, and then the recovery higher that got back to the SOC of the news. Then during Friday's RTH session, we essentially just tested higher above the overnight high, saw zero interest. I was really looking at the 50-50 and the settlement area to shut off the trade if it was going to be more balanced, and we got to 50-58, so it sort of matched expectations. And then again, I was looking at the 90s, the 49.90s, 5,000 to 49.90s to kind of shut off the trade in the bottom, and so we got that pretty much. And just had the trade in the middle, which is what we expected. Which is the way it happens, you know. Overnight, you have this crazy trade with a lot of things going on, and then the day happens and there's less. So anyway, let's talk about what we have to work with today. All right. So the theme that I'm going with, I'm working from right now, as I've said, we see an excess, and I actually should have discussed that just briefly on the TPO chart. It's not much of an excess. We have more of a taper. That's RTH, but we see in the full session it was much more of an excess, and then here we see the taper begin. This is a profile of all the trading that has went on down here. So basically, what I'm seeing based on this, if I could find my square tool. But I'm seeing this area of structure is having kind of been a stop run where there at this time it does not appear that there was selling pressure here. It looked like they pushed into this. There was nothing really for sale in this area, and we recovered higher. And then we could also say, work from the hypothesis that the same thing has kind of happened here. We have tested again during the RTH session below 5,000, found no interest. And then we have a really, really, really something nice to be aware of here, which is our gap to settlement. Or I'll just do this right there. Where our gap to settle is that our gap is, or our settlement is 3 3/4, and our current overnight low is 9/4. So we know this area is has not been traded. So this is key here. So a lot of what's going on here will be based for me off of this area right here. If this area is not tested, first let's put our lines in. So right now we're seeing is basic sort of like current line in the sand. So we have the current overnight low, and then like I said, we're looking at yesterday's full session and RTH high. So just without a doubt here, guys, we don't have to think too hard to know that if this overnight low holds, there's a pretty good chance we're going to take out this high. If this overnight, so that'll be our primary idea. And I shouldn't say primary because several things could happen today. There's not, to me, there's not strong conviction in either way. So I don't want to say primary, but I'll say that as of right now, this is something that this will be a scenario we'll talk about. So first idea, it's a bullish idea. If we hold this overnight low, I would expect us to push up, start getting into this blue area. Also, thanks to Mike's 155 at Convergent reminding me to discuss prices rather than areas. This blue area is 38.5 up to 62/4. So, and right here we have this area which is right at about 50, the mid-century 50-50, again, very important. So from here, what we could see is basically two things. We could see this push up higher, it could test up into the 50s, and we could see failure from there that does not get the overnight high. That's one way that that could happen. Or number two, this could push higher, and this could take this overnight high. Now, my primary expectation, this is yesterday's high. So primary, or not primary, but scenario one, we hold the gap to settle, we push up higher, grind into the 50s, we take yesterday's high. That's the first key target. If that happens today, my expectation is it will find resistance up here. I don't know why my phone is talking to me, but anyway, if we get this today, I think we'll push up into here. I think we'll see resistance, and I think we'll roll back over. I would not be surprised if we take this out and we roll right back over to take out the gap to settle. Boom to there. I would not be surprised if we see that. Very much to the kind of the other side, I wouldn't be surprised to see the opposite happen, where we move up, get to the 50s, fall back lower, take out the gap to settle, check that side, and then move back up, and then take the prior high, and then kind of do the same thing. So this is kind of like two ideas, two mirror images of each other. And what the thing to remember here, we got a big test right here, which is the settlement, and we have a big test up here, which is the prior high. And and these are just two ideas where I'm kind of expecting both to be tested, and this is how it could happen. If one is not tested, what I could see, if I could see us hold this gap to settle today and just move up to here, and then maybe hold. But I think if we fall back in, we're probably going to move back and get the gap to settle. That is, let me state this clearly. If we hold the gap to settle and we move up to take yesterday's high and we fall back in, if we fall back in, I think it's more likely we continue the whole way to take settlement. Alternatively, if we move up and we take the prior high and we hold this area, and specifically we kind of hold this blue area, and we're able to continue, then that would be different to me. And I would say that maybe this gap to settle would stay open. So let's discuss what that scenario. If the gap to settle stays open, we get the whole move up. So that would potentially look something like this. Push up into here, maybe a retracement back to FS levels, then up to here and hold. Now what happens there? If we hold this area and we do not fall back in, like I mentioned, if we hold this area, I am not thinking that we get, I mean, I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. I'm not thinking that we see some violent short squeeze. I don't think that'll happen. That's what a lot of people want to see. I don't think it happens here. I think if we continue, I think it'll be a grind, and I think each one of these zones will be fought the whole way up. So if we continue through here, which I'm not really expecting, but if we do, I think it'll kind of grind through each one of these. And I do think that I don't think it's going to sustain this into the close, but I could be wrong. But I think this is the main target on the upside. I think beyond this would be a grind up to maybe the 50-90 area. Beyond that, the real key, this blue area, 91 to 07, that's a major obstacle ahead. And then I'm not going to go up there, but we know what's above that. That's the 51.26 prior month's low, which is the big time area that we've been talking about on the upside. So that's the way, that's the bullish break. As well, the bearish break could happen the same way. It could happen with a test up to this area that fails, or like I said, we could see it test the whole way up to the prior day's high and roll and get that test, relieve that pressure, and then roll over back down to here, back down into range. Now, the third way it could also happen, I've been talking about this a lot, the way that we, the past several weeks, buying dips, buying intraday dips in the S&Ps was a great trade. Looked fantastic. It seems like a lot of people still want to do that trade, although it's not here. And so what we've been seeing, I've mentioned this as well, is we see something that looks like it should get these tests. It looks like it should rally, but it doesn't. The offers just pile up and we just slip lower. But in either one of those, in any one of these situations, then what we're looking for, then the important test is the gap to settle below. So we get this gap to settle test below. Obviously, we could test it and we could just revert higher, in which case we're trapped in this area. Like if we test and fall, we're trapped in this area, and that's a 50-point range. So that could easily happen. If we remain trapped in this 50-point range, like I will not be looking for structured trades. I'll be looking for order flow scalps, and scalps have to, have some type of stat. Falling below, like I said, if we pierce this area, I think that the way it will happen, we have this overnight low here. Again, falling outside this area, I think it will be more grindy. I think I could see us grind to here and then get back up into here and not get this low. That would preserve this low. That would basically make this test, potentially this test as well, and it would preserve this low, which I think that's a very real possibility. The most bearish idea would be obviously if we fall out of here and we cannot get back in and we take the slow out. But I'll tell you, my expectation still is if we get that today, I'm still not expecting a major flush. I think it'll make these tests and it'll get back in. So the key for me today, I really think there's a strong chance that we make a few tests, but we settle back somewhere within this area from 5,003 to 5,050 to 58. That's what I think. So I'll just recap this. I'm going way too long again. But the key here, like I said, the big boundaries, we have 50-58, yesterday's RTH and full session high. And then the first boundary below, we have the 09 quarters, which is the current overnight low. We have the gap to settle. Important tests, yesterday's high, gap to settle. Major expectations on tests outside, above yesterday's high, or below the settlement, or below Friday's RTH low. On tests outside of this range, I'm expecting a reversion. If we fall below this range, as you can see, below here, I'm still expecting it to be pretty grindy to any additional tests and likelihood of reversion to be higher. It's my opinion. I think today is probably going to be a more mild day of opportunity, just starting off the week. So that's what I'm seeing today. That's how I'm going to approach the day. I hope this helps everyone. Sorry for running a bit long again. We're going to get better at this as we go on. But as always, I just like to wish everyone a happy and productive day. And I hope that however your day shapes up, you find some way to be a little bit better and to smile and to maybe make somebody else smile if you can, because that's what it's all about. All right. Thanks for your time, everybody. Wish you the best of luck. Bye-bye.